Good afternoon and welcome to our virtual audience. It'll be my pleasure to introduce our panelists in just a moment, but first I want to thank all of you for joining us for this Lunch and Learn on diaper need. Today's conversation is presented in conjunction with the Community Food Bank of New Jersey's Great Big Diaper Drive. Following the enormous success of last year's effort, this is CFBNJ's second annual drive to raise funds, collect products, and cultivate awareness during National Diaper Need Awareness Week. This Awareness Week is designated by the National Diaper Bank Network, of which CFBNJ is a member. On a national level, 1 in 3 families in the US cannot afford diapers. Today, we'll have the opportunity to learn from our speakers so that we can educate ourselves, spread the word in our communities, and of course, take steps toward making change. My name is Miriam Heyer, and it's my privilege to moderate today's conversation as a member of Women Fighting Hunger. Now under the leadership of Lauren Parisier-Weiss, Women Fighting Hunger supports the goals and priorities of CFBNJ to provide food, help, and hope. It's our pleasure to support CFBNJ's phenomenal staff and critical projects, and to present events like this afternoon's conversation. I do want to mention that we're recording our conversation today, and we're very much looking forward to hearing from our audience. So the chat box is open if you'd like to say hello or ask a question. Even as the conversation is ongoing, please feel free. I'll be looking for your questions later on because we will have some time for Q&A. So thanks in advance for your contributions to the conversation. And now I'd like to introduce our distinguished panelists. Luckily for us, they have long and impressive bios, which we'll post in the chat in case you'd like to learn more about their work. Dr. Choju Chike Obi is the board certified pediatrician and medical director of Health Corps Limited and the NGO, the Health Zone Wellness Initiative. She's also a member of Women Fighting Hunger, where her volunteer work supports the important initiatives of CFBNJ. Deborah Brash is the executive director of Caring for Kids, where she oversees the Parents as Teachers Home Visitation Program, the Diaper and Pad Program, and the Food Pantry. Stephanie Weaver is the manager of community and patient engagement at Southern Jersey Family Medical Centers, where she continues her longtime work to address social determinants of health and to fulfill unmet needs. Donald Wirtz is the director of the Office of Concerned Food Pantry. He has served in this position since 2019, overseeing the largest single location food pantry in Bergen County. And finally, Danielle Burgess is the Impact Program Manager at the Community Food Bank of New Jersey, where she oversees CFBNJ's population-specific programs, including the Diaper, Period, College Pantry, and Senior Box programs. Thank you again to our speakers for joining us. So we're going to begin our conversation by learning a bit more about the overall dimensions of the problem of diaper need. So Danielle, I was hoping that you might start us off with a sense of the challenges that being unable to afford diapers presents to children, parents, and families.
Yeah, so diaper need is defined as a lack of sufficient number of diapers to keep the baby happy and healthy. So it doesn't mean that you don't have access, you just don't have access to the amount to keep the baby happy and healthy. And what sometimes that can lead to is causing health effects, not only in the child, but really the quality of life with the family, because parents have to make that difficult choice. If they can't afford diapers, they may not be able to put their baby in childcare for that week, that month, or whatever the situation may be. And that leads to them maybe having to miss work, miss a paycheck, and that can also substantial the life of the child and the family. So with very little programs available at the government assistant level, it's really up to us in this space to really try to create access so they are able to live a substantial life and able to go to work, not miss days, and really be able to live a fulfilling life. We have a lot of our pantry managers on the call today, and I think they are the first hand and really see the real impact of these programs and how diaper need can affect families. I don't know, Deborah, Donald, if you guys want to talk about some of the things you guys see at the pantry.
Yeah, Good afternoon, everyone. As introduced, I am the director of the Office of Concerned Food Pantry. And probably about 10 years ago, the people on the board of directors became aware of, besides Nutrition Plus items, the need for diapers in our community. We distribute diapers every week to every family who has children 3 and under. And this allows them to take some of the financial need away from they have. We are successful with this and increase what we can do when we get unusual contributions. Community Food Bank has some drives that has helped us. The Bergen County Security Task Force has also donated. And when we get them, we increase the quantities we receive by double. And this helps the families. And we also will run periodic diaper drives, which are very good for us because it's a specific item instead of just going for foods which people donate. So a combination of all this allows us to feed approximately about 120 children every week. And they're getting probably about 30 diapers per week. It varies on the sizes and the packaging. And the best thing we get from when we distribute these things are 2 words: is thank you. And that's what continues to keep us going.
I would have to agree with Donald. We've been running a food pantry probably for close to 20 years. And when they added the diaper program to the pantry, it was so much needed. We work with in-home with approximately 60 families from Cape May County that also receive diapers on a weekly basis. But we also have families that come into the food pantry that are also in need. So I think we're servicing about 100 families right now that all have at least 1 child in diapers. We have some that have 2, maybe a few that even have 3. With the Great American Diaper Drive, that's always beneficial to us because currently we probably have maybe 15 of those babies that have allergies to diapers. So we are a small nonprofit, so our funds are limited to actually go out and purchase the different types of diapers. So by having individuals donate to us, we are fortunate. We do have some sponsors sometimes that will send in their checks so that we can actually go out and buy the specialty diapers as well. So that's why it's so beneficial to have this drive every year to help us to get some of the additional diapers that are needed.
So Debbie, I know that when we spoke earlier, you mentioned there's the health impact of not having sufficient diapers, which we'll hear about today, but there's also the mental health and stress and kind of just family impact, right, that this can cause for families. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, we are a prevention program. Our program is a volunteer program. No one is mandated to do our program, but we do work with probably 95% of our families are very low income. They rely on summer work. We're at a resort, so winter is tough. In fact, in the last week, our pantry is probably seeing almost double already because the summer work is pretty well finished. Unemployment hasn't started. But with prevention services, we do look at the risk factors, and one of the risk factors is stress. And with a lot of them that do have mental health, it increases when they do not have the financial needs to make sure their babies are getting what they need. So that's one reason, you know, the diapers are so beneficial, because that relieves a lot of that stress of knowing that they are going to have the diapers every week and not have to worry that, like they said earlier, with going to work and not, or sending them to daycare, not being able to send the proper items needed for the child. And because then it could come into a neglect situation. And then we have another issue involved where they may call in DCP&P because the family is not caring properly for that infant.
So kind of expanding the picture, right, of the impact that this has. Tojo, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more from a pediatrician's perspective about what the child experiences and what this can lead to.
Yes, thanks, Miriam. I'm happy to do that. So, you know, when we talk about diaper need, what we don't realize sometimes is that diapers cost about $945 to $1,500 a year for one child. And we're talking about for 3 years of that child's life. And so 8 years ago, that was about 14% of the annual income for a poor family. Today, it's more than 14%. So we're not talking about housing and costs, and, you know, we're not talking about childcare costs or, you know, feeding yet. So, and if that much is going to diapers, we can understand what the need is. For the child, it presents immediate problems medically as well as long-term problems. So a study was done in 2021 that was published in the Journal of Pediatrics. And pretty much what it showed is that for families who experience diaper need, there's a higher healthcare utilization. They visit the pediatrician and the emergency room more for two main conditions. Okay, and these two conditions are diaper dermatitis and urinary tract infections. So diaper dermatitis, to make it as simple as possible, is a kind of inflammatory reaction in the skin of the diaper area, all right, that really is as a result of the prolonged exposure of the skin to moisture from urine, from feces, and then from the friction of the diaper itself. And then when that gets in place, the inflammation, then infection easily sets in as well. So then you're now dealing with inflammation as well as infection. To give you an example, just an idea, sense of what this feels like for the baby. Ironically, in the past week, I developed an irritant dermatitis on my left ankle, which means something came in contact with my skin, which irritated it. Let me tell you, the burning, the itching and the stinging kept me awake at night by about day 3 of the problem. It was amazing. About a 4-inch area on my ankle, and I couldn't fall asleep because it was so uncomfortable. So imagine a poor little baby dealing with this all around the diaper area for days at a time. And mind you, for me, it was with the appropriate treatment. I was still feeling these effects, okay? So these babies get a diaper dermatitis, which on the surface of things does not give you any long-term problems, but it definitely creates, anxiety, pain, and distress for the child and for the parent who feels helpless to do something about it. Urinary tract infections, on the other hand, are a whole different story. Urinary tract infection is one of the most serious bacterial infections an infant can have, okay? Because if a urinary tract infection is untreated, it leads to long-term consequences, such as renal scarring, which means the kidneys get scarred. When the kidneys are scarred, they cannot carry out the function for which they were designed. So a child with renal scarring in the early stages of their lives goes on to develop hypertension. When they become mothers, they can develop preeclampsia. As children or as young adults and as adolescents, they can develop renal failure. It has major consequences for untreated or improperly treated urinary tract infections. And a baby cannot tell you, it burns when I pee. It hurts when I pee. And a baby's using a diaper. So babies, if anybody in the audience has ever had a urinary tract infection, you are barely making it to the bathroom to pee, right? And so you can imagine a baby cannot verbalize that to a parent. So they're going through all this discomfort and they are suffering silently. And furthermore, aside from that immediate impact of the immediate problem, there are long-term consequences. So this study in 2021 showed that children who have diaper need, who come from families with a diaper need, experience higher incidences of diaper dermatitis and urinary tract infections. So those are the immediate effects to this child. The long-term effects of that is that that same study also showed that the respondents to the study, when asked whether they were asked whether they tried to stretch diapers, 30% of these families admitted to stretching diapers. And a common risk factor for diaper dermatitis and for urinary tract infection in babies is frequency of diaper change. It's top issue for both of those conditions. So if you have a family that's unable to change the diaper as frequently as is recommended, the American Academy of Dermatology recommends you change a child's diaper every 1 to 3 hours or every time the diaper is soiled, and at least once during the night. Okay, so if a family is having to stretch diapers, that baby is going to be at high risk for either urinary tract infection or diaper dermatitis. So these are the immediate consequences. We can talk about the mental health consequences from the stress and anxiety that creates in the parents, and Debbie alluded to that already.
So Stephanie, in your experience, considering patients' holistic health landscapes and well-being and outlook, what does it mean to be able to get this kind of help, to be able to have access to diapers, and how do people articulate both the need and the kind of when the need is met?
Absolutely. So as you said in the bio, I work for Southern Jersey Family Medical Centers, and we're a federally qualified health center. All of our patients fall at the 200% below the poverty line level. And it's something that we've seen the need for a really long time. And fortunately, we became a partner of the Community Food Bank a couple of months ago. But before, we would, be working on trying to get donations and that sort of thing, just because the need is so high. So many patients ask, is there somewhere I can get diapers? I mean, this has been a question we've been receiving for such a long time. And now that we have been for a couple of months now, we are a distribution site. We just had to increase our deliveries to every other week in order to meet the need. We're really trying to, because we do have 5 sites within Atlantic County. So we're really doing our best to really meet the need of our patients. One story that I think is this one hit me pretty hard. I mean, of course, everybody, when we give them diapers, it's like just the amount of gratitude. I know Donald mentioned it, but the amount of gratitude is just, you can see it in their face with that thank you. It's like the most sincere thank you can receive. But one woman in particular that it really struck me, and she was obviously a more open individual. She, you could see the tears in her eyes with her thank you. And she had just gotten herself and her 2 children out of a domestic violence situation. So she's in a shelter. She's like, this backpack is like all I have to really carry what we have right now. So, her knowing that she can, diapers are one less thing she has to worry about. A case of diapers, I know, Doctor, you broke it down to annually, but I have a 2-year-old, so I'm like real in the midst of buying the diapers, really working on that potty training. But a case of diapers is around $40, give or take. And you go through a couple of cases of diapers if you're changing the diapers the way you should, a couple of cases a month. That's for an older child. For an infant, you're probably going through 3 cases a month. So it's very overwhelming, as even someone who is able to afford it. It's very overwhelming adding that to your weekly, bi-weekly bills. So just like the amount of gratitude and relief that we see through patients, and that patient in particular, and I know she's not unique, it gave me the chills, and just being able to help meet one need that the woman is going through just is so important. And like I say, I share her individual story, but hers is not unique. There's probably one person every day with the same story that we're helping through this. So it's just so important. It's been so well received, abundantly received by our patients, and it's a need that our our OBs, our GYNs, our pediatricians are all beyond thrilled that we're able to offer. So with extra support of, I know there were some donations that were recently added to what we get normally of the wipes. Oh my goodness, the wipes. People were thrilled. And the diapers, if there's as Deborah was mentioning, like some children have issues with certain types. So,
Right.
when the donations come in of different types of diapers too, like the light you see on people's faces is just pure sigh of relief of like, thank you for this one area of help I never thought I'd be able to get.
Yeah, and part of what CFB&J talks about a lot is trying to make it so that people who need help don't have to make difficult choices, right? So the kind of question that we sometimes get about, why does the food bank or why does the food pantry have these other products, right? And it really is about making sure that people don't have to, get off the line for food and get on the line for diapers, or kind of, make those difficult choices. So when you're thinking about strengthening communities or, receiving help through drives or volunteers, what are some other ways that people who really care about this issue can take action so that families do get the help that they need? Either specific to your communities or kind of general ideas for our audience who's interested in participating.
This is Donald again, and we have a few local churches and religious institutions that we go back to every year, and we ask them to do a diaper drive. We're also involved with 2 high schools in the Bergen County area who do diaper drives. And one of the main reasons we can do this is it also allows the organization to focus specifically on one item. So when you sit on here that says diapers, we just, in the drive we had at my local parish this last weekend, a person walks in, the first person, second person walked in and brings diapers and says, but you need wipes, going back to what Steph said, you need wipes to clean and put the diapers on. Community food bank supplies us with wipes at times, and really it is an extremely necessary thing. Unfortunately, we can only give them out due to cost or restraints once a month, but the people in the last week are really, really looking for the diapers. I think the other thing I found from our drive that we had was that it continues to be an awareness, of families. And as I said, $40, $50. I mean, people look at it and says, how can they do that? And it really continues on. So if you can get them, it makes it easier than saying when you get food, because food people empty out a pantry or something. But a specific drive for diapers helps us out. And when we get the large donations, then we are able to give out more. And I think that's really what it counts for.
I think it's important. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to agree again with Donald. We do the same type of thing. We have a lot of private groups that will do the diaper drives for us and also include wipes. We do work with our local high school as well that does a drive for us. So we're basically running the same way. We just look to the community. Our staff is very involved in the community as far as attending different events, so that they know who Caring for Kids is, and they know what our needs are now. So sometimes we don't even know they're doing a drive. They just show up at the door with cases and cases of diapers, which is wonderful.
What I would also, just encourage our viewers is first, educate yourself on this issue. I know we're all talking about it today, but there's tons of stuff out there. Just Google diaper need and diaper insecurity, and you'll be amazed. There's a lot of stuff out there. So educate yourself about it and find out resources, because I know one of the things as a pediatrician that I've always strived to do for my patients is that when I identify a problem, I want to also give them solutions and resources. There's no point pointing out the problem without getting them the help they need. So in addition to educating yourself about this, learn what organizations in your community provide free diapers to families so that you can become an advocate in your community. First, to let people know that this is a need. Most people don't. As I was preparing for this conference, for this webinar, and I went back, I found out that the first peer-reviewed study about diaper need and its medical health outcomes for children was as far back as 2013. I think Donald mentioned that about 10 years ago, they began to be aware and start to focus on this. So 2013 was the first peer-reviewed. And to my shame, that was definitely not on my radar as a pediatrician in 2013, So it helps if you know what the resources are in your community so you can point people to them. As Debbie and Donald spoke about, and Stephanie and Danielle, most food pantries carry diapers and carry wipes. So find out where the food pantries are in your community so you can point people to them. That's one thing you can do. The other thing you can do is, Donald mentioned it, if you belong to a faith organization or some sort of organization or even a social organization and group, bring this on their radar, the diaper need situation, because federal assistance does not cover purchasing of diapers. The food stamps program, now known as SNAP, or the WIC, the Women, Infant and Children Supplemental Food Program, does not cover diapers. And quite frankly, from everything I've learned, diapers are a basic need for families with children under 3, just as food is, just as lodging, And so, bring that, let people in your community and in your faith groups and social groups you belong to put this on their radar, because diaper drives are so easy to do. And if they can't do a diaper drive, then donate. If you donate money to the food bank, the Community Food Bank of New Jersey, every dollar that you give them can procure 6 diapers. Stephanie talked about going and buying a box that would cost $40. The sad thing is that diapers cost more for poor families because they don't have that $40 to spend as a pop. They maybe have $10 or $12 to spare. So they go to the local bodega or the 7-Eleven or the local supermarket in their town and buy what $10 or $11 can purchase in diapers. Maybe that's 10 if they're lucky, or a dozen diapers if they're lucky, right? Whereas Stephanie or people listening to us today who can afford to buy in bulk, we can go to a Costco or a Sam's Club, and buy a month's supply at a time. It's cheaper that way. But for poor families, they actually spend more than families who can afford to spend on purchasing diapers. So it's truly a problem. And this is a way you can help. Just become an advocate, raise awareness in whatever organizations you're a part of, and be a part of the Food Bank Great Big Diaper Drive that we're, hosting now, because, Debbie and Donald have talked about how grateful they are, and Stephanie, for those donations.
And I think I like that you pointed out, someone like myself who I can afford the diapers, I buy the bigger case, I still stand there, I'm like, cost per unit, going through the whole thing. But those few times we know we've all been there when you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have money on me, I don't have my card on me, I need to get diapers, which again, very grateful, that's a sometimes thing for me. But then you buy the smaller one, it's like $13 for that 10-12 diaper little pack. That's crazy, right? So something that I know I've since becoming a part of this and becoming aware of it, I fully admit my prior ignorance. I'll try to buy some extra, I'll buy an extra case when I go and then add it to our diaper stock, because I'm fortunate enough to be part of that organization. But I know there's organizations on here, food banks on here. If you are someone who's fortunate enough and you're like, you know what, I will. I'll buy an extra case today and I'll drop it off at one of these organizations, off at the community food bank. I know things like that are also always welcome. And of course, donating that money. But I always try to, I always put myself in the situation, what little thing can I do? So if, I know I can do that, and you're like, I'll buy the extra case today and I'll give it to somebody, or, I'll make sure I go on and put that donation, because I know, you know, I now recognize what a big deal it is and what that one case of diapers can do for a group of people.
Yeah, and to like just piggyback off what everybody says, I think all of this is important when addressing diaper need. We need the drives, we need the programs. We are a part of a National Diaper Bank network, and there are several other programs, about 8 other programs like us in New Jersey, trying to do this work. And us as the community food bank, we're lucky enough to be able to have the leverage to purchase at unit cost, so we're able to give to our other programs who are willing to do this work in this space. And I think it's very important to advocacy, because even when I first started, it made sense when they said, oh, diaper need. I'm like, that makes sense, but I never really thought about diaper need. It was never something that I was worried about, not because of I didn't have a child at the time, but just because I wasn't thinking about it. It wasn't something I was like, it got to be covered by government assistance, by WIC, by somebody, you know. So it never really was a space. And I think Dr. Shoji, you talked about how in 2013 was the first study. We just started our diaper bank in 2014. And before that, we got donations in. It was very arbitrarily, we give it out to a partner. There was no real program, and we were able to start a program. And I think us having these kind of conversations and these kind of drives and bringing awareness really helps to address the diaper need and really get people to think differently about diaper need and know that inflation affects everybody. And something as little as that just changed somebody's way of getting food, of getting diapers, of getting other supplies. And it's really important that we all remember, you know, that we could be one inconvenience away from being in somebody else's shoes. So having these conversations, I think, just brings awareness to where we can help and provide while we're able to do so.
Right. And, you know, in addition to the kind of community awareness and the actions that individuals and families and communities can take, you know, awareness and even beyond awareness building into advocacy, right, also can create change on broader levels. So we do know that there's a little bit of breaking news on this issue, right, that the federal government is going to, for the first time in a limited way, right, provide grants to 6 states and 1 tribal consortium to support the provision of diapers. And I think that, you know, that action, it's again, it's kind of almost a pilot, I would say, a limited kind of dipping their toes in, but that action shows, right, that the problem has grown to the point that it needs to be addressed, but also that the awareness and the advocacy of activists and people who are trying to address the problem has increased as well, right? That's the kind of result of these efforts. Yeah. So I do see some questions coming into the chat. Now's a good time, audience members, if you do have questions, to share them. In the meantime, I wanted to return to this issue of, you know, when we talk about various types of needs and problems and challenges that communities face, we often bump into issues related to stigma. And I wanted to open the issue for the folks on this call. You know, we're talking about the families who receive assistance and who are very grateful for it and who are expressive of that gratitude. But there's also a huge issue with people feeling like, you know, hesitant to reach out or to get help or to really take action in that way. So Debbie, I wonder if you could start us off thinking about how we can, you know, break down the stigma that may be attached to some of these issues.
Well, with Caring for Kids, we really try to get out there in the community. We really try to attend the different fairs that they have going on for families. And we work hard to gain the trust of our community, to let them know that we're here to help them, that we're not here to judge. You know, you're coming here voluntarily. Nobody's telling you you have to come here. And although our pantry is only open on Tuesdays and Thursdays, this week we had 5 calls on a Wednesday. And of course, we welcome them as long as we have staff in the building. And we want them to know that, you know, we don't want them to get into the habit of just calling every day, but we want them to know if there's an emergency, if you need diapers, if you need food, we're here, we're going to open the door. So we try to make our facility very welcoming, and that seems to have helped.
As mentioned, we are a large food pantry, and we go to probably 40 towns in Northeast Bergen County. We go to, majority of them come from 5 local towns. So we're not specific to a town. There's been a task force, a Bergen County task force on food insecurity, and diapers are part of it. And what I find from talking to a number of these smaller food pantries is privacy is a major item to the family, because you walk in here and they are very protective. Some places only have a director giving out the food. Most food pantries of the smaller nature do not let younger children work on, teenagers, people who may need community service, because they're afraid they're going to walk out and say, do you know Mr. Wirtz gets food? And that would be very detrimental to the people. Over the last couple of months, as the economy got worse and things, we get calls in from social service agencies, however they find us. And when they either they call or our family calls in and ask us about it, it's a very hard thing. I mean, sometimes, it's almost like a crying, you're getting here. And can you get that? So there, you try to protect their need, but it's unfortunately, people who come online, they come to get, we have probably 20 people lined up before we open on a Monday morning, waiting and waiting, and they know each other. So there's some camaraderie there, but it's a very hard thing. But just to go besides this, we run a Nutrition Plus program, and the Community Food Bank is very good to us on this, donating boxes to the government and other fresh food. But there's also that need that if you keep the people healthy with that, it helps them with the children, and it goes back. And we also, Englewood Hospital works with us through nutrition. So it's a combination just for children for here, but we also cannot get formula and things. I mean, there's other needs in diapers that take care of children, and it just becomes a financial need. So any way the finances could come in will help the people out.
I just want to add that it's very humbling for me working with Women Fighting Hunger, which, as Miriam talked about, we are just a volunteer organization, group of women who support, the initiatives of the food bank. We pretty much just do what the community of Food Bank of New Jersey needs us to do, with our professional expertise, we help them. But one of the things that has been very humbling about that work is I remember when COVID started and when they were doing the huge distributions in different places, and we were part of the volunteer team helping to distribute food, and just seeing the different, and you could only give it, you had to come by car because of COVID and the COVID precautions. And so there were all kinds of cars, like really nice cars coming up. And you realize that the statistic that says that 59%, and I just Googled this, I'm not a genius, I just Googled this quickly when Miriam asked the question, 59% of Americans are one paycheck away from homelessness, okay? And 15% are just one paycheck away from some level of economic hardship, So if you think about it that way, it could be any one of us, it could be any one of our neighbors. The fact that it's not us today doesn't mean it couldn't be us tomorrow. So I think particularly from the perspective of somebody who's trying to help provide resources and trying to serve in some way, it just helps to have that sober estimate of our value, and that, these are people just like us, and we are where we are and they're where they are. It's just fate and chance, It doesn't mean we're special in any way. And so that impacts how we should treat them and react to them. Nobody wants to be in that situation. I remember doing a food market here at the Interfaith Food Pantry in Morristown and helping hand out fresh produce, and just engaging people in conversations. These are people from all walks of life. Most of them who came to that food market at the food bank had jobs. but just not enough to stretch. So you can imagine a family that's actually in poverty and needing diapers and needing formula and needing, every kind of assistance. We should see it as an honor to serve them. An honor to be a part of the solution, and maybe with our attitude we can alleviate some of the stigma, when we serve them, so that's just what I was going to say.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think I was a network engagement specialist at a point, and I would go out to the community a lot to talk to our partners, and I was able to talk to the clients. One of the biggest takeaways I got is that our clients really trust our partners, and they make them feel not embarrassed for going to the pantry. They make them feel good. Having a conversation, like when I go there and the pantry manager's like, oh, that's Miss such and such. She likes this box. She needs this size. She needs, and I'm like, what? But it's because they get to know them, and that really helps the people, the clients feel like it's okay. I may be here for now. I'm gonna get better, but it's okay. And I think that's so important to not make it an embarrassing thing, and try to empower them as much as we can while they're in this difficult time, because they're not going to be here forever, but they need help to get through this time while they're dealing with these diaper needs.
So we have a question from Brian in our audience, asking about organizational efforts or opportunities to influence funding for this cause, right? So thinking about the dire health related implications of diaper need, and what advocacy can do. So do we have any ideas, for the folks in our audience?
We are going out 2 weeks from today, and it's the first time we tried it, and it's due to this diaper awareness month and such, and we got this all to the local ShopRite, all right, to try something which we haven't had before. And we're going to see, because you can see them at Thanksgiving time. You can always see donations going on here. If you have in any organizations up in Englewood and any of this, if they want to contact me, they can contact me, and we set it up. And we will give you flyers, we'll give you talk on this. And because we have a band, we can also pick them up. So it's really having somebody reach out to, simply if they can go to the community food bank, because they know who all the partners are and who's doing diapers. So the easiest for them is contact Danielle or anyone who has staff, and they'll be more than welcome to help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and extending even beyond kind of those immediate actions, which are so important, right? And thinking about trying to impact legislation, right? Trying to advocate either on the local level or the state level or the national level, which of course the National Diaper Bank Network is very focused on. Any thoughts about both those efforts and what they would do for your organizations?
Well, I know it's election time, and that's always a good time to hit up the different congressmen and committeemen and assemblymen from our county, and trying to bring more awareness about the needs. So we do try to make contact. We're not a political agency, and we're not allowed to promote political, but we can still reach out and speak to them about the needs of Cape May County, which actually the McVie funding, which is funding that through the state that we receive to run our program. One of my staff and actually one of the family members was actually on a call last week and was able to share with them a little bit about our program and our needs. And that was one thing that was mentioned about the need for diapers. So that we were fortunate that we were selected to be on that call with Senator Van Drew's office. And hopefully it made a difference.
Yeah, and through the chat, Adele from CFBNJ is agreeing, right, that people should lend their voices at the federal and state level, and anyone can be an educator, right? And I think that that's one of the crucial things that Toji mentioned earlier, that now that you know about this problem, so we talked about how you could share it with your communities or your organizations that you're involved with, but also calling folks that represent you or who want to represent you and making sure that they understand that this issue is important and that they know the scope of the problem, right? And I think that that's a critical element.
I mean, I got to go back since we're from Bergen County, and we're probably on the county commissioner and his staff has set up 2 years ago a Bergen County Security Task Force specifically for food. But one of the main things they said is back in 2008, 2009, when we had the last major recession, everybody panics. What's going on? They handle it. By 2010, everybody forgot about food insecurity. So Bergen County has made a 5-year commitment to address food security here. And they also understand diapers are part of it. So if you can get into any government official, you can go, the state has a website, so you can find all your senators and assembly, and you get to them, they will respond to you. So that's what you can ask people to help with.
Absolutely. So thank you again to our panelists. Any final words to our audience or anything that you'd like to raise that didn't get discussed? I always like to create a space for those final words.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out and viewing this panel. I think it's very important for us to have that conversation. We are able to, what we say, supplement our pantries, and we supplement them with diaper because we know we're not able to fully cover the need. I think it takes about $1 billion to fully cover diaper need across the US. So as well as donating to us at the Community Food Bank of New Jersey, we encourage you to look at your local food pantries and local other diaper banks that are doing this space and donate because we are a supplement, but any other supplements can help us address the need even further. So definitely look into that and donate when you guys can because it's important.
Great, thank you. So thank you very much to our audience and to our participants. I am going to share a final screen that has the URL. So if you haven't had a chance to visit the Great Big Diaper Drive webpage, please do. And it's been such a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.